Hi everyone, welcome. FPLMattDay here for the live Game Week 14 deadline stream. Your questions answered. I've been sent plenty of questions on Twitter, a couple on Instagram as well. So we'll go through those on this podcast. But tonight, special guest is back. Obviously missed the last couple of weeks. He's back again in his Man United shirt, which it was banned from the podcast, but we'll allow it now. It's Q Quinton from FPL Amateurs of Oz. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. And, after a demolishment of Everton the other day, mate, this shirt will be staying on. So,
and that goal from Garnacho,
yeah.
Wow.
Mate, there's one thing that Man United can do is score absolute worldy bicycle kicks. Yes. From a bald-headed Rooney to a young, good-looking Garnacho.
That was an incredible goal. I watched that goal so many times. I'm just like, wow, how's he done that? So incredible goal, incredible moment. But tonight we'll get straight into it. I'll share the screen in a second. I'll just bring up a couple of comments first, and then I'll share the screen and go through the questions that did come in online. And then I've got a couple that are on my phone. I'll talk through just a couple of wildcard drafts that people want me to go through. So I'll go through those. Welcome to the stream, FPL Pulisic. Hope you are good, mate. But let's share the screen and let's go into these questions and help everyone out for Game Week 14. The deadline is tonight. How far off are we from the deadline now, Q? Is it, 2.5 hours?
I think so. I'm just double checking the first game. So the first game's at 2 a.m. So that'd be a deadline of 12:30. So yeah, 2.5, pretty much.
2.5, okay. All right, well, let's go into the first couple of questions, mate. So put this out earlier on in the week, just asking if anyone had any questions. It was just on Twitter. And the first one come from FPL Rue, another regular on this channel. So go and check him out if you haven't done already. And he asked, is it time to sell Son? So Son against Aston Villa last week had 3 disallowed goals. I'd probably say there were 2 of them were probably, about right. The third one was quite tight. But he was getting in a lot of good positions. I think on another day, he would have definitely come out with a couple of returns. So, but I'll hand it to Q first to get your thoughts, mate, and then I'll and then I'll follow it up. So, what do you think, mate? Is it time to sell Son if you've got him in your team?
No, I think we've seen in the past, I think multiple times last season, you spoke about Spurs against City, and I know it's a bit of a different Spurs team that'll be lining up, but Son's always had a decent record against City, and I think in a fixture where City's defense hasn't looked great, they've conceded a lot of chances to teams that I wouldn't say are up there as attacking teams compared to Spurs, where we know if the way Ange plays football is they're going to get chances, they're going to create shots, and I think this could be a game. I think City will probably win this fixture, but I could definitely see it being like a high scoring fixture. And I think Son's definitely going to benefit from the likes of Brendan Johnson out wide, who I rate highly. He is a little bit inconsistent, but his creativity for Son, when Son's playing up top there, I think there's going to be at least a goal or 2. So I think probably not this week.
No, I like that. And I think, you make some good points there. Son's record against Man City is really, really good in home games and in away games for Spurs at the Etihad. So, and I think you're right. I think, look, despite all the injuries, suspensions that Tottenham have, they will still create opportunities. I think they'll fall to Son. And Man City seem to have this kind of fear of playing against Son as well. It's just been going on for a while. So I'd keep him. Then Spurs have got West Ham in Game Week 15 in midweek at home. And you'd expect in a home game as well, Son to sort of lead the line in that one and then do well. So I'm with Q. I think for this game week, you can keep him. I don't think you need to get rid of him right now. So FPL Rue, I would say keep Son. So does Q. So keep him.
Do you think Son's a hold up until the Asia Cup? Like, do you think that it's viable to keep him up until then?
I think so. I think if Spurs keep creating the amount of chances they did against Villa, and that's with the team that they had to play. But once Romero comes back from a suspension, Richarlison's coming close now to training. Basuma's now back into the side. So there's a few more players coming back before January. I think Spurs will still create a lot of chances in these games, as we saw. Some will find the net. He'll find goals, unless he completely dries up. But I think for now, yeah, he's a keep. So yeah, definitely a keep. We'll bring up some questions. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Go and check out all the socials as well. FPLMattDay, and then Quinton at FPLAmateursOz. His tag there that's on the screen. Go check him out on all of his socials as well. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram as well. And give the video a like if you haven't done, and get your comments in. So we're going to answer the questions that have come up on the Twitter thread, but we're also going to answer questions in the comments as well as we go. So this one from FPL Pulisic or FP Pulisic, F Pulisic. What shall I do with Bowen? Yeah, that's another interesting one. Q, what do you think? What would, are you a Bowen owner? I don't have him in my team, but yeah, what would you suggest for those that own Bowen right now?
I moved off Bowen and went to Kudus. I really wanted Bowen and Kudus, but I think just with the uncertainty about Bowen's injury and I guess all the other fires that have sort of appeared over the last week, I think if you do have a route to go to someone else like a Kudus in Burma or someone like that, I think you pull that trigger this week just because there's that many players that are unknown this week. The last thing you want is to sort of stick with Bowen and then he's out this week. And then, the likes of an Burma or a Kudus or someone else, gets a decent haul and you've just missed out on points. And you might be getting someone off your bench or you might not, depending on sort of how your bench is looking. So I think definitely this is the week you probably move on from Bowen, and you can always go back to Bowen if his fitness, does come good over the next week. But yeah, I wouldn't be holding him.
No, I like that analysis. I think as well, this is probably the week if we're unsure on Bowen starting. I think there is players, Burmo, if you don't have him already. Gibbs White's got some really good fixtures coming up. I really like him. Hwang from Wolves as well. We saw that he's on pens. So I think there's a couple of good replacements there. Just a dad post and stuff. Hope you're good, mate. He's got Lascelles first sub. Is Watkins to Darwin for a hit worth it? I'm going to say at the moment, hold off over the next hour and a half or so. There's a few rumours that there's going to be some potential Villa training news from today that we might get. So I'd hold fire for now, see if we get that news. But if we do get the confirmation that he's out, then I would say take the hit. But
I just saw Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins has travelled with the squad to Bournemouth. So
he has. Okay, was that what pet was that?
That's FPL North.
FPL North. Let's go check it out. So, what do you reckon then, Q, with Watkins? Then keep him, or should he take the hit? Because if he takes the hit now for Darwin for this week, you get him for Fulham home, and you'll get him for Sheffield United away.
I would nearly take the hit because Villa's fixtures, looking at their fixtures aren't great, sort of, I guess, for the next few weeks after this week. So, you could definitely get 2-3 decent games out of Nunes by the time you'd want to move on from Watkins. So I think there's a little bit of upside there.
Okay. I agree. I think, sometimes why not take the hit? Like if you look at it over 2 games, who's going to get probably the most points? You'd probably think Darwin in isolation is going to get a better score than Watkins this week and in game week 15 with the hit. So probably getting Darwin in is worth it. We've got some more comments that have come in. Carl Finn, Coach's Corner, Lexic, FP Pulisic, Matt Cowden's in the stream as well. So we'll bring up all your questions shortly. We'll go through this other one now on Twitter from FPL Crusader. So he has asked, I've got Maddison on the bench. Do I use my 1 free transfer on him? Or do I take out a Dinger, a Cash, or Soufal? I'd definitely use it on Maddison because he's not going to come back until January. So, FPL Crusader, I'll be taking Maddison out. I mentioned some of the names earlier. Hwang from Wolves, Gibbs White are really good options. Maybe Luis Diaz from Liverpool, probably sort of the 3 for me. And obviously Buemo from Brentford are the key ones. But yeah, you've got to sell Maddison now and then bring him back when he's fit. What do you reckon on that, Q?
Yeah, no, I definitely think go Maddison, and I don't like. I like the move to maybe Alenga. I know you mentioned
I've
Gibbs
heard
White,
people
but
talk about Alanga over Gibbs White today. Why do you think that is?
he's just looked so good. Like even going back like 7 weeks ago, he was on my radar as a player to sort of look at if he was going to get consistent minutes. And we've seen the last few weeks he's been starting regularly. He creates a lot on that wing, and I think he's definitely, for me, probably a better option than Gibbs White, even though I guess Gibbs White could be on penalties. But yeah, I just think there's a bit more upside there. And I think even maybe an earlier move to Palmer. That's what I did this
Cole
week.
Palmer. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad shout.
I was going to wait, but then, I don't really like Newcastle's fixtures as much.
Gordon seems to do well, though, regardless, I find.
Yeah. No, I think definitely there's Gordon, there's Palmer. I mean, I'm probably not going to go in Burma, even though obviously they have a great fixture this week. But yeah, for me, it's probably one of those, or maybe even going to a Kudus if you get news that, he's fit and ready to play.
I love it. Let's bring up some more comments as well, and then we'll go on to the next question on Twitter. So we'll bring up a few more of the comments that have come up. So keep getting them in. Give the video a like if you've just joined, and obviously subscribe. Carl Finn, Bruno and Porro to Zinchenko and Mbeumo. Then next week, Diaby to Saka. I wouldn't get rid of Porro. I just would bench Porro this week. I just think he's just getting attacking returns regardless of the game. And once Spurs get Romero back, I know that some of the fixtures are a little bit tougher, but I think there'll be fixtures over that Christmas break that they'll get potentially clean sheets in, like the Everton game. There's a few other favourable fixtures. So maybe Bruno for Buemo, I don't mind. And then I like the Diaby to Saka one. But if you can switch someone else out for Zinchenko, I would do that. I just think Porro, you can bench him this week, but I think from there he's an asset I wouldn't sell right now. But Q, what do you reckon?
I actually think this week you can at least start Porro just because of how attacking he's been. And like I said, I still don't think City are great defensively, and I think they're going to create a few chances. And we've seen the last 2 weeks there's times where Porro's been almost in line with the wingers, getting into the box. So I'd be holding him. I think he's one of those players similar to like a Trippier where you can play in bad fixtures and, he's probably nearly a hold for the rest of the season unless, he gets an injury. And I'd try to go Bruno to Saka this week over in Burmo, to be honest. I know in Burmo's got Luton.
That's a good shout.
But if you weigh up
Saka's got Wolves at home, which is quite an open game.
Like who would you say, like if you're talking about great attack, are you talking about Arsenal or are you talking about Brentford?
If you ask me without this Spurs shirt on, then I'll probably say Arsenal. But yeah, you'd pick Arsenal and Saka, especially with a home game against Wolves and then the Luton game as well in the midweek. So yeah, you'd have to back that Saka move. I actually think that is quite a good idea because it gives him the opportunity to keep Porro. And then I'm assuming he's probably got 2 transfers and he can save one for midweek as well, or one for obviously in game week 16. So yeah, it's a good shout actually. I'd just get Saka right in now, ready for Wednesday. So
see,
that's
I know Mbeumo's definitely a flavour of the week just because he's been pretty good this year and they do have Luton. But when I'm looking at Brentford, I'm not saying that they're going to be scoring 3-4 goals this week. I could see them winning 2-1 or 2-0. Against Luton, whereas I could see Arsenal, I think Wolves defensively probably aren't going to sit in a block. I think they're going to try attack Arsenal, and I think that's going to open them up to, the likes of Saka and Jesus.
Yeah, Wolves and Gary O'Neill have actually played quite similar to Spurs this season, where they've attacked, they've been progressive, they've been quite high up the pitch as well, and yeah, they've been unlucky with a lot of results. So, yeah, really liking them. Let's. I've just seen the goal come in.
Yeah,
yeah, it's funny
that talking about me and you just in case.
It's always interesting when people bring mini leagues up. What was it? 14 weeks into a season, but yeah, I don't think these people realise the Premier League goes for 10 months. But yeah, we'll bring up some more comments from everyone else. Coach's Corner, Madison and JWP out, Almiron and Bowen in. definitely Maddison out. I wouldn't bring Bowen in because we don't think he's going to be fit. And then, Almiron out. Not sure. I'm not
I'd
sure
go
on those
Gordon
moves.
and Kudus.
If Kudus is fit, I think if Kudus is fit, then definitely go him. I don't mind keeping Ward-Prowse if you've got to, but I wouldn't bring Bowen if we don't know his injury situation.
Yeah, I think there's been an illness through the West Ham team because I've seen about 8 players flagged with just an illness.
Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully it's not for Areola because he's in my team. But I'd keep if Ward-Prowse is actually sick, then him and Maddison to go. But definitely don't bring Bowen in. And I don't mind the Almiron shout, but like Q said, I think Gordon's a better pick. But good question nonetheless. We'll bring up more questions from the YouTube comments. So keep them coming in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Go and check out Q as well, FPL Amateurs of Oz. We'll bring up the question from Q's podcast mate, actually. Damo, FPL West Ham. He's got a good question here. He says, do we keep our nerve with Spurs assets such as Son and Udogie? Maddison injury clearly affecting them as well. Another fullback injury, stick or hold. Also long-term replacements for Maddison. I'll start with, do we keep our nerve? I'd say keep Son. Like we mentioned him earlier, like he's just going to keep getting chances. Udogie, it's another one. Like he was almost like a striker last week at times. I don't think there's many other defenders in the game right now that are worth really getting in anyway because we're not seeing many clean sheets. So I think for his price, you keep him. And like I said earlier, you can always bench these Spurs defenders this week if you need to. As for Maddison, you definitely need a replacement. He'll be back at some time in January. Plenty of replacements at the moment. We spoke about Hwang, Luis Diaz, Buemo, Gibbs White. Q mentioned Alanga and Gordon as well. So there's lots of options. But Q, what do you reckon from the other half of Amateurs of Oz, Damo? What do you reckon on that question, mate? What are you thinking?
Good to see he's still alive, but you did make a good point about the defenders. There's not really any defenders that are sort of putting their hand up for us to sort of, I guess, pick like outside of like a Saliba. If you don't have Saliba, I just don't think there's too many options there. So I'd probably nearly hold Udogie because Spurs fixtures, they do open back up, don't they? They only got sort of a couple of bad fixtures.
It's one of them, like a couple of trickier fixtures, lots of injuries, suspensions. But when a few of them come back in, I think we'll be looking at them favourably again, these players. So
and Romero's back next week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back midweek against Damo's team, West Ham. Against West Ham. So
it's a clean sheet there. So
and an attacking return.
I would actually probably keep Son and Udogie at the moment, but I'm looking at options to sort of move on from Son when the sort of the Asia Cup starts, which I think is the start of January.
I think it's in January, but there is a break in the Premier League or so until the 15th of Jan. So I'm not sure how long Son will be out from after that. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll bring up some more of the YouTube comments, and then we'll go into some more of the Twitter questions. So thanks for that, Damo. Really good question, mate. I hope you've been keeping well. Lexich, welcome back to the stream, mate. My defense. Here's his defense. Gahey, Cash, Taylor. Worth doing Burns to Pinnock to play him instead of Gahey for free. I'd say, I'd probably say yes. If Burns is out I'm not sure if Burns is back fit yet, but if he's not, then I'd say get Pinnock in against Luton this week. These are the sort of game weeks when you pick those players like that, they come out and get random massive hauls. So I reckon do it, and then it saves you having to play your Palace defender away at West Ham. It is a free transfer, but then you never know, actually, if there is all those West Ham injuries we mentioned before. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say no. Save the transfer and just play Gahey. What do you reckon, Q?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Pinnock, I think he's at a price raise, so a few people are jumping on Pinnock with their fixtures. But I think if you can save the transfer and just play him, because defenders are likely to get a 2-pointer than they are to get a 6-pointer. So you might play them. It could be a nil or draw against West Ham. You never know. And and you've backed a free transfer, and as we've seen the past week, there's been so many players that are just been flagged out of nowhere. So it's probably always good to try bank that transfer if you can.
Yeah, I agree, especially when there's a midweek game week. You get a lot of rotation as well. Let's bring up this question. Should I play Anderson? I think Anderson from Palace or Lascelles home to Man United. I'd say Anderson. I think he's been such a goal threat this season. And like we said, West Ham, loads of injuries apparently and illnesses for this week. Palace, they did win their last season as well, 2-0. So, yeah, I'd say, and West Ham played in Europe in the week, if you can class the Europa League. Oh, no, they're in the Europa League, sorry, not the Conference League this year. So, yeah, they actually had a big European game. Yeah, I'd play Anderson this week over the Lascelles. Actually, I'll back Man United to score.
I agree. I think Man United are going to score. I think that could be actually quite a high-scoring game against Newcastle, so I'd probably go Anderson.
No, I agree. We will bring up some comments now on Twitter, and then we'll bring up the rest of questions that come in as well on YouTube. So get your questions in if you've just joined the stream. Give the video a like if you're watching the stream now. Just give it a like. Hit the subscribe if you haven't done. And we're probably, what we now, is it 2 hours till deadline? So, yeah, still waiting on that Ollie Watkins team news that apparently is supposed to come in before deadline on Twitter, but you just never know what to believe. FPL somewhere has asked 2 options. Number 1, do I free transfer cash to Zinchenko or Saliba and save one? Do I do 2 free transfers, Martinelli, Mubama to Morgan Gibbs-White and Darwin? My concern is option 1 will not give me extra funds. Option 2 will give me flexibility to swap Darwin to Isaac in 15 and 16. What do you think? I'd actually probably say go with the second option. I know we just spoke about keeping transfers, but I actually think the 2 players you're getting in Gibbs White and Darwin have actually got some nice fixtures, and then getting Isaac is actually going to be pretty handy. So I actually don't mind that. I think you're getting some upgrades, but you do want to keep in mind, because Morgan Gibbs White and Darwin are going to outscore Martinelli and Mubama for me in the next 2 game weeks. So yeah, I'd say option 2. What do you think, Hugh?
That's actually a tough one, to be honest, because I really rate Saliba as an option, and you're making the transfer, but like you said, Darwin Gibbs White could definitely get some decent returns over the next 2 to 3 weeks, and gives him an option to go to Isaac. I think I'm going to agree with you and go the second option. I think that there could be a little bit more upside there.
Yeah, I think long term there is some better prospects for him. We'll go through another question that come in on the thread on Twitter. It was from Christian, another watcher of the stream, another Spurs fan as well. Should we hold on to Spurs assets when it's clear they're being targeted by both playing and refereeing teams? Yeah, he's got his back up at the moment, Christian. I think he's wasn't happy with the refs last week and the offsides and everything else that kind of went on in the game. So yeah, look, I'd say we've had this question a couple of times now, actually. So yeah, we both think they need to be held. If it's Son and Porro or Udogie, then yeah, hold on to those guys. We already mentioned there's a bunch of home games coming up and players will return from injury. So, yeah, no change there. Q, you were thinking the same anyway.
Yeah, no, I think just hold on to I think, and then if you do have Son, look to sort of move away when the Asian Cup starts.
No, awesome. Let's bring up this question. Coach's Corner. If Bowen and Watkins is potentially injured, I've got Solanke on the bench. Okay, so it wasn't a question. Well, that's fine. Solanke's not a bad option to have on the bench. I'm pretty sure Villa have actually lost their last 4 games against Bournemouth away. So, yeah, it's a great player to have on the bench, actually, Solanke. A lot of people looking at that Villa game like it'll be easy, but it won't. David, welcome to the stream, mate. Which Brentford player would you target versus Luton? Q, you can take that one, mate.
I actually don't mind Wissa. I was sort of looking at that myself as an option because I'm going to have to downgrade players for my move to Haaland in week 16. So I was actually looking at maybe Wisser as an option this week, but I obviously had to put out a few fires. So I didn't pull the trigger. But I think if you've got a spare transfer and you're wanting to sort of downgrade that third striker spot, I think Wisser is a good option.
Yeah, I don't mind the Wisser option. I actually looked at him when I was putting some differentials together, but he still had reasonable ownership. I'd say Buemo is obviously the obvious pick. Wisser, like you mentioned, maybe Pinnock, who we'd seen earlier, mentioned if you want to go defensive. But yeah, there's probably not too many others that I'd want from Brentford that I'm going to hold. They're probably sort of the key ones if you're going to target that fixture, mate. Coach's Corner just saying he uses 2 free transfers. So yeah, good to hear, mate. Another one from Dave. Should I captain Haaland or David Raya? David Raya is actually an interesting call, though. At home to Wolves, but you probably think Wolves will score. So it's going to have to be Haaland.
I can't tell if he's serious, but I mean, Arsenal, I think, could definitely keep a clean sheet. But I think there'd be better options. Yeah, I'd play Haaland out of that, but I think there's obviously other options. But I know you do love your ex-Brentford players, so I know how you feel,
mate. We'll just stop sharing screen for now, and then we'll go through the YouTube comments. We've gone through all the ones on Twitter that come in during the week, and then I'll go through the ones that come to on Instagram in a sec. We'll do this one. Thoughts on Myelenko from Everton? I personally think he's not a bad FPL asset when they've got a nice sort of, decent home game and they've got some stability. But now they've had that -10. There seems to be a lot of other internal issues and stuff there right now. So I probably just wouldn't even look at Everton at this stage. I know he gets the odd haul, but yeah, for me, Everton are just to stay away until further notice for me. Q?
Yeah, I think there's better options. I mean, I know he said that there's not a great deal of options at the back there, but I think if I was going to go to Everton, I'd probably more look further up the pitch, maybe like a DCL. But yeah, like you, Matt, I'm probably going to stay away from them to see sort of what's going on, how they're going to react to obviously the 10-point deduction, whether they're going to focus all out attack, which is going to leave them vulnerable at the back. And we saw against United, they conceded 3 goals and could have conceded more. So
I agree, mate. Coach's Corner is saying we'll see how with Saka how he performs versus Wolves, and they will struggle away at Luton like Liverpool, possibly. Hwang or Archer? I'd probably still start Hwang away at Arsenal because he's on pens, and Wolves are really good in the transition when they go forward and attack. We were saying earlier they actually kind of played quite similar to Spurs at times this season with Gary O'Neill. So yeah, Hwang for me. Archer and Sheffield United, he's had 1 return this season. I don't know they got Burnley, but I just think Hwang's just an exciting player to own. If Wolves are going to find the net, he's usually involved at the moment. So yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go the Wang, but I reckon just flip a coin, mate. Just go get a coin and flip it, and then just go with the decision.
Nice one. Bit of Brentford hate from Q, according to Dave. Is it because of the 4-0 defeat to United last year? You know what? It actually could be because Q has never been a big fan of Buemo for FPL, have you?
No, sort of. I don't know. It just might be a little bit, but yeah, I actually liked Brentford last season. Actually adopted them as my second team, but as we've seen this year, I don't have room to love Brentford anymore because I've got Big Ange as my second team this year. So.
Yeah, he loves Ange. Loves Ange. Coach's Corner, Pickford or Martinez as goalkeeper this week. What we got? We got Villa away at Bournemouth, and then we've got Everton away at Forest. I think it's Everton Forest, isn't it, this week? I would still say Villa. I'd still say Martinez. Both are actually. I said Villa haven't won at 4 games away at Bournemouth, and but I wouldn't trust Everton for a clean sheet right now anyway, even in that game. So I'd probably say Martinez.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think Martinez the better keeper, and just some of the saves he's been making the last few weeks has been ridiculous. So I'd go. Yeah, definitely.
Actually, that's a good point. That save he made last week from there was Højbjerg. But the first save I think he made from Brennan Johnson, And then that shot from Højbjerg, it was just, Martinez has been unreal. So, good call. Any news on Bowen?
I saw a whisper that they still don't know the extent of his knee issues and whether he's going to be fit for short term. So probably, press conferences are frustrating because Moyes doesn't like to give anything away. So
no, I agree. Thiago Silva or for Ruben Diaz, Silva on his bench. I'd probably just not even go any of them. I'd probably say swap Thiago Silva down all the way for like a 4 and maybe a Pinnock from Brentford or someone that you can have maybe long term that's just a cheap 4.5 million defender and bank the rest of the money and use it elsewhere. Because like me and Q were saying earlier, there's you're just not getting much out of outside. I think Porro's getting a lot of assists. You're not getting much out of defenders right now unless you can afford Trent. But otherwise, I don't think there's a huge amount.
Is Tommy Astu going to be starting this week?
There's been talk that he'll play this one against Wolves, but would he then play the Luton fixture in a couple of days? I'm looking now at total scores of defenders. There's Anderson in second. Zinchenko is probably one you could look at. He's quite highly favoured. So Saliba probably is an easy swap if you haven't got him. Yeah, so it's not easy with defenders right now. WB just said, "Hey guys, I have to start one of Bowen, Adingra, Archer, or Lascelles, or use a free transfer on Bowen and start whoever I bring in." I'll probably play. You could probably play Bowen, and then if he's definitely ruled out, have a Adingra first sub. I'll get him to come on because he'll be playing against Chelsea, who have got no Reece James, no Gusto, so they've got no one on their right side this week, and they've just come off the back of a 4-1 loss. So for me, it has to be Adingra the way Brighton play. You think so, Q?
Yeah, 100%. I think play Bowen, have Adingra first sub, and then obviously if you get any news before the deadline, you can maybe move Bowen on. But if you haven't got the news, I think just play him because I think if he's still got the knee injury, I don't think he's going to come off the bench. I think it's either he starts or he's not involved at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. David just asking why we were answering Twitter questions. It was only because we'll do a thread on Twitter every week, just saying get your questions in, and we either answer it on a 5-minute video during the week, or we answer them on the pod. But YouTube is where it's at, so he's right there. So if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, get your comments and questions in, or any team news, anything that's come in today. A few other comments have come in, but we'll bring up some FPL related stuff. So Lexic is sinking to hold on
Hwang, I think
Hwang until 16 and 17. He's bringing in Palmer. I don't mind that. Hwang's got really good fixture in midweek as well. That's why I actually don't mind the idea of bringing him in. And then Palmer's going to be on a lot of people's radars because he's on pens. Chelsea have good fixtures, but I don't know. Like we saw it. Remember last time Chelsea had all these good fixtures, and all people got out of it was one good game from Sterling, really. So, like for me, I'd potentially look at a Sterling instead of a Palmer. I know there's the pens, but in game, Sterling actually looks like more of a goal threat, and we've seen that he's got free kicks in his locker now. But again, at the same time, like I guess because Palmer's so cheap, then maybe then does edge up with the pens. But what are your thoughts on this move, Q?
Well, I hate myself that I got Palmer in because I said I was not going to go there. Just obviously the reasons you just pointed out that, the biggest upside, I guess, is the penalties, but he's not as attacking as Sterling. But I didn't have the money for Sterling, so I've had to go Palmer. But, it's a tough one. I went Palmer this week. I think you're still going to get some points from Palmer this week, and then obviously the good fixtures coming up, and hoping that, Chelsea continue to play a bit better like they have the last sort of 4 weeks. So I'd actually nearly say Palmer, bring him in early. If you're afraid of the price rise, because by 17, Palmer could be 5.5 or 5.6.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are banking on him getting pens. because that's, I think, where the bulk of his goals have come from. So anyway, let's bring in this comment from FPL Pulisic. Actually, before we go through this one, I better bring up the Instagram comment that come in from Shireen, because I said that I would go and rate her wild card. So if you're watching, Shireen Mia, so she sent me through a wild card. So we'll read this out now. Goalkeepers, Anana and Areola. What do you think on that, Q? Bear in mind, Anana has actually kept a couple of clean sheets lately, but he did make that howler in the week.
See, Anana, for me, I sort of half rate him as a goalkeeper. He does unbelievable saves, but then also has a bit of a brain fart, I guess you'd call it, in him, where you let in an easy goal. But I actually don't mind that, because in the fixtures, I think United have probably got 2 tough fixtures, and then they go back to a pretty decent run of fixtures after that. So I think definitely you can play Areola in those 2 fixtures that obviously you don't want to start Onana and then, plug Onana back in. So I don't mind it, actually. I like it.
I don't mind it. I'm just having a look now and I'm thinking, like, would you be better off just playing the extra 0.1, getting David Raya in, Wolves home, Luton away, tough games with Villa away, Brighton, Liverpool, but then after that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 really nice fixtures for Arsenal. And then you're only really going to have Saka and then maybe a Saliba anyway from Arsenal. So I actually would say maybe look at David Raya for a 0.1 more. Ariola's fine, cheap and cheerful keeper. It looks like she's already had him in the team anyway. All right, so her defence is Mengi from Luton for 3.9. That's fine. Samikas, again, stays in the team till Robertson's back probably. Lascelles, again, stays in the team until sort of Botman's back. They're the sort of players you'll probably have to replace one of them in the new year. Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw. We'll go back to Man United's fixtures. Newcastle away, Chelsea home. Bournemouth home's not bad, but Liverpool away, West Ham away, Villa home. I can't see United keeping a clean sheet throughout that run, to be honest. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't go near United. I still prefer Pedro Porro to Shaw, but Saliba I like. So, is there any other defenders you think, Q?
Yeah, I'd probably nearly go Porro over Shaw, but when United's fixtures do sort of turn around and they're, I guess, got a decent run, I think Shaw's a must-have. I think he's going to be a BPS machine.
No, fair point. I'm just not sure on the United fixtures, but when he does play in United, get clean sheets. You're right. He's a bonus point magnet. Midfield, she's got Buemo, who I like for now. Saka, Salah, I like those. Douglas Luiz, again, I'd probably say go for like Cole Palmer or Gordon instead, because although Luiz is handy, he's on pens, I just think you're going to get more out of Gordon or Palmer. And then Caicedo. If you're going to get a cheap midfielder is your last one, then I'd probably try and get whoever's the cheapest midfielder in the game right now, which probably isn't. I don't know. It might be Caicedo. I'm not too sure, unless there's anyone that's cheaper. But anyone in there, Q, that you think she needs to have instead?
I think, like you said, you could go Palmer in that team, but I think the midfield's pretty good. Like, those are 3 premium sort of options there. Burma's not sort of premium price, but he's gonna pretty much score consistently over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think. And then you got the big hitters in Saka and Salah. But I think Palmer's a decent option there, or even a Gordon, depending on obviously how much money you'll have. But I think Palmer's a decent option there. And I think the last option you can nearly go like maybe a Declan Rice if you really wanted just a cheap central midfielder. Or an Alenga. I think Alenga might be 5.0 as well. Or 4.5. I'd have to double check.
It says she's got nothing in the bank after this team here, but we'll go on to her forward. So she's gone Haaland, which, I think that's nothing wrong with that. Darwin Núñez, I think, good player to have on a wild card right now. And then Watkins, I think he's someone that you could probably, if we don't get the news that he's going to play this game, which you could probably move him on a wild card and get Isaac in nice and early. Front three, Q. What do you think on that? Or you could even maybe downgrade Watkins, get like an Archer in, and then use the rest of the money to bring in another solid sort of midfielder pick that that we've not spoke about. I don't know, maybe like a Gibbs White, or is there any Lewis Diaz potentially, or anyone else? Q. What do you think? Front three. I actually think she should go Haaland, Darwin, and Archer instead.
I would nearly say, I guess Calvert-Lewin's flagged now, so I'd say you could downgrade Watkins to Calvert-Lewin at 5.8, and then use the money elsewhere. But yeah, maybe downgrade to just sort of an Archer. Have him there. You're only going to plug him in the team if you really need to. He's going to play pretty much most weeks. But yeah, and then use that money in the midfield there, like you said. Move up to Gibbs White maybe, or you might even be able to get to that price range between the 6 and the 6.4 or something like that. There's a couple of plays in there as well. I think Kudus is in that price range as well. I think he's 6.0. Yeah,
Kudus. No, good stuff. Well, that's just a quick wildcard wrap for Shireen, who asked us to review her wildcard. We'll do F. Pulisic now. Can you rate my team? Areola, Anderson, Trippier, Cash, Palmer, Diaby, Salah, Son, Buemo, Haaland, Alvarez, Turner, Lascelles, Archer, Kabore. I'd probably say that team's like a solid 8.5 to 9. Like, doesn't look like he's got any injury flags this week. So, yeah, I'd probably be sort of saying more of a 9, especially for this game week. Q, what do you reckon? How would you rate that team out of 10?
I think it's pretty solid. Diaby, obviously, for this week, you're going to play him, but I think after this week, you can move on of him. So maybe have, I guess, a plan on when to move him on. The likes of Cash as well, he's been frustrating. But I think for this week, if you're putting that side out, I think it's a decent side for this week. Maybe even moving away from Alvarez if you've got Haaland. I don't really like the double up of Haaland and Alvarez long term. I just think you could definitely move to someone else as that second option.
No, I agree. David just asked, Hwang or Bruno? Will Bruno keep giving away pens? Because he gave the pen to Rashford last week, didn't he? Which I don't think we expected, but still. Yeah, we actually, to be fair, we did just have a little look at those fixtures for United, and they're not great. I'd probably just take the punt on Hwang and keep the money and use it elsewhere, but... Q's the one with the Man United shirt on, so he might give you a different answer than me.
I think you can probably move away from Bruno. And I really hope he does keep giving penalties to Rashford, because Rashford will be prime picking in a few weeks. So I hope it sort of keeps up. So gives him a bit more value, gets his confidence up. So confident Rashford, I think, is better for United. So I really hope he keeps giving penalties away to Rashford. But I think, like you said, you can bank a bit of that cash and use it to upgrade elsewhere. So, I like it.
Yeah, I think Rashford as well, like normally he tends to like kick into gear after Christmas. I think it was last season he was like unreal. Was it the second half of the season? And he just tends to do that. So hopefully that happens again for FPL. But it wouldn't be too fast if it didn't happen for United. But
do you think Garnacho is an option?
Yeah, actually, Garnacho is not a bad shout. In terms of those cheap midfielders, certainly, especially if he's going to keep scoring overhead kicks.
Because Sancho's playing in the under-23s, and you've got Anthony, who's not starting. I think he's had a few injury issues as well. And then Martial is sort of one run away from pulling a hamstring, and Højlund's only just come back. So I think he could find himself in that team for a decent stint of games.
No, I agree. I think Garnacho's definitely got a shout in there as a cheap midfielder. It's hard though because Gordon and Palmer are cheap as well, and like they're pretty much starting most games. Definitely Big Ange. If you're going to start a manager, Big Ange or Pep, it's got to be Ange. Plus Q's Ange's son, so.
Yeah, no, I can't go against the old man, so I'm going to say Big Ange instead.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be. Captain choices. Actually, it's good that Shireen mentioned this because we were going to cover it off later. This is an interesting one. So for me, I think Haaland's the best captain this week based on the fact that Spurs have no centre-backs and they're not going to play Eric Dyer. who pretty much doesn't count as a defender anyway, for how bad he plays when he plays. So I'd say then, because Spurs lack an aerial threat at the moment, they're probably going to throw balls in the box, get corners. He's just going to get his legs on the end of it, head, that type of thing. So he might get a couple of goals. But for me, it was my captain's armband was on him all week. And then I was sitting there and I was like, I'm not going to get any joy out of Haaland scoring goals in my team this week against Spurs. So I'm going to captain Salah at home to Fulham. He got double-digit score in both games against Fulham last season. He's close to getting his 200th goal for Liverpool, which is incredible. And he's, I think it was 63 points he's got at home this season, whereas Haaland's only got 44. The fact that Spurs have so many players out is was tempting me towards Haaland. But yeah, I don't care. I want to go Salah in that Fulham home game. I don't think there's much in it. I just think Haaland only edges it because of all of the players or the lack of defenders Spurs have. But Q, what are you thinking on captain choice? Who's the best captain and why? And who's your captain going to be?
My top 4 captain picks this week, I've got Salah as number 1 against Fulham. Coming in second, I've got Haaland against Spurs. Then I've got Saka as my third option against Wolves. And then a curveball captain, I've got Sterling against Brighton.
Ooh, that is a big curveball. To be fair, he does tend to just turn up out of nowhere in home games. So what do you think edges Salah over Haaland this week? Despite the fact, obviously, Haaland and Spurs have got no Romero, no Van de Ven. Probably looking at a central line of Emerson Royale out of position and Davis. Who's going to be able to get near him in the air? Because City are known to just throw those balls in the box. So, what edges Salah for you, mate, do you reckon?
Well, looking at Salah against Fulham, the last 2 fixtures, he's got a goal in both games. He's looked really good. Champions League looked incredible. He's looked incredible probably the last 3 to 4 weeks. He's looked like, I guess, previous season Salah, where any moment there he can, bag a few goals. Fulham, I don't think are great defensively. I think the only way Fulham are going to get something out of this game is to attack Liverpool, which Liverpool are a little bit vulnerable at the back. I still don't think their defense has been great. So I think if they can get a few early chances, it might change the way that game goes, which then will leave space for the likes of Salah, Diaz, and Nunez up top there to sort of. I think Liverpool can win this game like 3-0, 4-0. I think it could be, especially with how close the top of the table is at the moment. Liverpool are going to come out and just make a statement, get that 3 points, but also get their goal difference up. So I think it could be quite a big day out for Salah. I think Haaland, like you said, the centre-backs, a massive issue. Like if I'm seeing Davies, even Dyer defending Haaland, I'm going to be worried as a non-Haaland owner. But I think Salah has a little bit more upside in this week. And one thing is I don't own Haaland as well, so that makes Salah a bit more appealing for me. But, I think those two are probably standout options for me this week. And I think then Saka would come in third. And, you could, if you had maybe Jesus is another option. But, I think Saka for me would be the third option.
Yeah, I think Spurs and Anjan defence need to take some inspiration from Everton last season when they went to the Etihad. It was about a year ago. And I think it was Godfrey was marking Haaland. And they must have had, to be fair, they still had Tarkowski centre-back, probably better than what Spurs can even put up anyway. But they need to get some inspiration from that. But they got a solid 1-1 draw. My curveball captain is Trent Alexander-Arnold. If you're still a Trent owner, who scored last week, I reckon did he get a couple of assists or a goal and assist in the Europa League or whatever it was? There's so much potential.
He got a goal, I'm pretty sure.
Huge curveball captain. So, I think Trent for me. Let's move on to some more comments. PSB, welcome to the stream, mate. Who is the better pick for the next 4 to 5 game weeks? Palmer or Gibbs-White? I'm going to split it down the middle and say Gibbs-White for the next 3, and then Palmer for the other 2 fixtures after that. I think you can just interchange. I'd get Gibbs-White in now if that's the position you need to fill, and then I'd bring in Palmer from there. Gibbs-White 12 points last week. He was brilliant, and he got 5 the week before. So I'd go Gibbs-White right now over Palmer.
This week I think Gibbs-White this week, and then you sort of, as you said, can go between the two. I think I like Gibbs-White this week, and then Palmer the rest of the weeks.
No, I agree. Jermaine, High Legends, is Buemo worth a -4 for Bernardo out with Darwin in for Watkins? If we don't get the Watkins news, then like Darwin coming in, great transfer. Is Buemo worth the -4 though? Like, if we're confident Bernardo's going to start, I'd probably just do the Darwin for Watkins one if we don't think he's going to play. I wouldn't then take the -4 after that. And then I'd move Bernardo on potentially for someone else in the next game week. That probably isn't Buemo. Q, what do you think on that one?
Is it week 18 that Brentford have the blank?
Yeah, week 18.
So you probably weren't going to get 3 of the 4 fixtures out of Mbeumo before you benching him for that blank. That's a tough one. I definitely think Darwin in for Watkins, do that one. And then I guess weigh up the benefits you think your team's going to get with that -4, because you're sort of wanting Mbeumo to maybe score 8+. In my opinion, if you're taking the -4 to get him in. So if you're confident that he can cover that, I think great pick, because they do have Luton this week. And I know I've sort of poo-pooed Mbeumo a little bit, saying that he might get a goal, but I didn't see a lot of upside. I still think he could definitely go bang this week and get a 14-point haul against Luton. So I actually don't mind the -4. I'd probably do it, actually, to be honest.
There you go. So Q is saying yes to the -4. I've said no to the -4. Keep getting your questions in. We normally do a fixture review, but we're actually getting a lot of good questions in so far tonight. So we're just going to keep doing questions. We've obviously covered off some more captains. Get your questions in. Subscribe to the channel. Give the video a like as well. Go check out Q as well. That's his tag there on screen, FPL Amateurs of Oz. You can find him on Twitter. You can even just head to my Twitter page, and then you'll find Q on there somewhere. So go and check him out. Give him a follow. Another question that's come in from F. Pulisic. I have 2 free transfers, thinking of Bowen to Buemo and Luis to Palmer. See, this is where I would do the Buemo move, because it sounds like Bowen is probably not going to be fit. And then, although I do like Villa's fixture, and they can always, like, pens are just so frequent with VAR, would I get Palmer in right now? Yeah, for the home Brighton game, because that could be quite open. I'd probably say that's 2 transfers I would do if I had frees. Or I'd just do the Buemo one and maybe keep the 2 for midweek. I think either of those are good options. Q, what do you think on this one?
Yeah, I actually think those are 2 really good transfers for this week. Obviously, you always look at multiple weeks for your transfers, and I think both of these plays, you're going to get at least opportunity to score decent points over the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks. So I like it.
Awesome. Comment from David. We'll leave this one for you, Q. He's asked, who's the most overrated player this week? Matoma, Hwang, or Quinton Dunn?
I'd have to go for myself. There's been a bit of hype around pre-deadline with my team, and I've woken up on the Sunday morning only to be left disappointed. So I'm going to say myself. You'll like that one, David.
A question from Lever PK. Okay, what chance of Watkins playing tomorrow? Well, FPL Villain, who's a huge Aston Villa fan, gave him a 70% chance. Emery's given him a 50%. So you've got to say 50-50. And then if he travels with the squad, again, you've got to think if he travels, it's because he's going to start. So I'd say it's 50-50 right now until further notice. Q, what do you reckon with Watkins? Do you think he'll play?
It's a tough one, because they'll play Duran, won't they, if he's not fit? And then I guess looking at the table, How far are they off the sort of the top?
They're right in the top 4. They need to keep winning, and they've had 4 defeats in a row against Bournemouth away from home. So it's somewhere that they struggle at.
I think if Watkins is 70%, I think he plays, because this game with likes of Man City against Spurs, if that ends in a draw, that puts City on 30. Villa win, puts them on 31, and they're top 2 in the table in a great position. So I think if he's 70% fit, I think they're going to play him.
Yeah, they have to. Matt Gadsden, welcome to the stream, mate. Douglas Luiz to Anthony Gordon on a free transfer. He's been on fire recently, and Newcastle's fixtures are pretty good. It's an interesting one because we obviously just said Villa's fixture looks good on paper. He takes pens. I think long term, Anthony Gordon is a better pick. If you don't need to make the transfer, I don't think you actually need to make that this game week. You could probably make that in the midweek game week. But yeah, I don't think it's a necessary transfer right now with Douglas Luiz having this Bournemouth game and the fact that he does take pens. But long term, the better asset is Anthony Gordon. Q, would you make this move right now, or would you save it and maybe make it in the next one?
I'd probably actually save it. I know they do have United, and a lot of people are going to laugh that I'm being a little bit biased, but I think I could see Douglas Luiz scoring better this week than Anthony Gordon. I think Anthony Gordon could definitely get maybe an assist against us, but I think Douglas Luiz could definitely get a 10-point haul if obviously Watkins is out, so he's going to probably be a bit more attacking in that fixture, and then they could definitely get a pen. So no Watkins, which means Douglas Luiz is, there's going to be no confusion. He's going to be the pen taker. So yeah, I like it.
Nice one. Lexic, worth getting Gabriel. It might be. We'll see what team Arsenal play against Wolves. And the midweek against Luton, they'll probably then they'll play Gabriel potentially again, back to back. So, and with his current price, there could be some potential there. But Ben White has started to make his way back, so that could become a bit of a stumbling block. But there's definitely some potential in there. Q, what do you think on this one?
I like Saliba more than Gabriel, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be down to a cost thing. But I think Gabriel is a good option, especially with Zinchenko fixed. So there's that whole, chat about that. If Zinchenko is playing, Gabriel start. If Zinchenko is not playing, Gabriel won't start. But I like it. I think if you can't get to Saliba, I think Gabriel's a great second option there.
I love it. Zada, welcome to the stream, mate. Hope you are good. He's got 2 transfers, Bowen to Saka, Watkins to Isaac. Definitely Saka for Bowen right now with the fixtures that Saka's got. And then again, if we get news that Watkins fit for this game week, I'd still just play him. But I'd probably still do Watkins to Darwin if we think Watkins isn't going to be fit. I just think, Darwin with Jota injured at the moment for Liverpool now as well. I think there's just big opportunities for Darwin to start scoring some goals. So, Q, what do you think on that one?
Yeah, I like it. I don't mind Isak, but I like Darwin this week better than Isak. So I'd probably go, like you said, go to Nunez this week. And if it doesn't pan out over the next 1 or 2 fixtures, you can easily move back to Isak if you'd like.
No, nice one. Q, we'll get you to answer this one. Got 3 flags, Soufal, Watkins and Bowen. Should I take a chance to start him? My bench is quite poor.
I think Soufal is in the same boat as Kudus. I think it's the illness, so he's been flagged for the illness as well. I think they'll play. I'm pretty confident that they'll play. I've been trying to search through Twitter to see, what they're sick with, whether it's just the stomach bug or whether it's the flu or something. But I think Soufal, Kudus will probably start. So I'd definitely start Soufal if you have to start him this week. Watkins, as you said, a bit unknown there. But if he is 70% fit, I think they will play him. Bowen, I don't think will play this week. So I would maybe try and move on from Bowen if you could.
Yeah, I think so. Move on from Bowen. Watkins, it's a wait and see up until deadline. We'll see if we can get some news. And yeah, we'll see how we go. See Foul as well. West Ham, lots of potential illnesses, so it is tricky. I think we had a comment from Dave about Tony, but I can only assume he's having a wind up because Tony is currently banned for gambling. So, yeah, if you do have him, I'd probably just keep him now because he's back in a month.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what the odds are that he'll get the price. But I'm sure you might be able to speak to your boy Tony, mate. He might be able to hook you up and let you know. But
yeah, he's another one. If he does, like talking to Tony, once he comes back in FPL, if he's at Brentford or if someone else signs him,
he might be happens off to Spurs, mate. So you might be loving Big Ange instead, David.
Oh, it'd be straight in my team. Honestly, once Tony comes back, it's going to be huge for FPL because it's actually a good question because let's see what his current price is. So Tony right now, 7.9 million. He started the season. I'm assuming he would have been 8 million from day dot.
Yeah.
He must have only dropped once,
I think it was
right?
8.
So right now, if he was fit for if he was available to play this game week, that's another one you could just swap Watkins straight out to Tony for, and Tony's just so fixture proof regardless. So yeah, I can't wait for him to get back up and running in FPL. I think he'll be in a lot of sides. He's captain worthy as well.
I hope he goes to Spurs. I would just love that.
Mate. I can't see
it. United.
No, it'd be better for us. We need him more, mate. Imagine Tony at Spurs. If he had played against Villa last weekend, he's coming out with a couple of goals.
He would have had about a 40-point haul.
Yeah, and he can replace Kane with the pens because he's so good on pens. Zeno has asked, would you guys play Sufal or Pedro Porro? What do you reckon, Q?
Sorry, I just got a private message from David. He's like, I hope you enjoy my commentary on the YouTube stream.
It's good. It's good. We love all the questions.
I would probably play Porro. Sufal, could get an assist, but I think Pedro Porro just looks so good going in attack, and I just don't really rate City defensively. I think they're going to give up a few chances, and I think Porro could be putting a ball into the box for Son, hopefully.
Okay, yeah. See, for me, my team, so I've had Pedro Porro since wildcard, but my current lineup has a defense of Tsimikas, Matt Cash, and Taylor from Burnley, playing against Sheffield United at home. And then I've put Archer as first sub in case Watkins doesn't play. And then I've put Pedro Porro on the bench this week, which it's annoying because I don't want to have to bench Spurs players. But I don't know. I'm just looking at you thinking Porro away at City. Yeah, there's upside because he can get an assist. But I don't know. I just feel like without the assist, he could easily be on a 1 or a 0-pointer. So yeah, that's probably why.
And Sufal's not keeping clean sheets either. So would you rather...
Between those two, I'd do that. But who would you play? So if I've got... From a defense of Tsimikas, Cash, and Taylor, would you play those three, or would you replace any of them with Pedro Porro?
I'd replace...
Taylor's probably the obvious one, but playing against Sheffield United at home, surely that's the one Burnley can keep the clean sheet in.
I would probably play Porro over Cash.
Over Cash. Yeah.
Because Cash could easily be substituted 55th minute, and if he's got an illness, is there a chance that they get early subs?
Yeah, true. See, I really want to play Porro, but I'm just looking at it thinking I just can't see a clean sheet. I'll write the clean sheet off. But he could grab, he's pretty good in these big games at getting shots off, getting assists. So, yeah, I'm tempted to move him to first sub ahead of Archer. Because Archer will come off my bench if Watkins doesn't play. So maybe that could be another one for me to think about before deadline. Please get your comments in. We'll probably instead of doing our fixture roundup, because we've had so many good questions tonight and we've had questions answered on Twitter, we'll probably go through a few more questions now, and then we'll probably wrap up the stream soon. Karim, welcome to the stream. Bruno, Jay Rodriguez, Watkins, which two to start? I'd start Jay Rodriguez this week at home to Sheffield United. He's actually been quite good. But then
he does pop up with like a double every now and again. Like he'll just
he does, but you can't start. You've got to start Bruno and Watkins, and then if Watkins don't play, you put Rodriguez first sub, surely.
Yeah, actually, that's probably the way I'd go, because I think Watkins either starts or just doesn't play.
Yeah, and Bruno, like he's pretty like one of United's main attacking assets. So that's what I would do, mate. Any other questions? Please get them in. Q, let's get some differentials from you, mate. Who are your? If you've got three, then give us three differentials that you would like that you think are going to be good for game week 14.
The first one I'm going to say is Alenga from Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, you've been loving him.
For me, I've had my eye on him for a little bit, and I thought he's looked really good last week. And he's only 5.0, 1.4% owned. Ended up with 7 points last week. And just looking at sort of, I guess, the last few weeks, 7, 6, 3, 2, 9. So I think obviously with Awani out, he's going to take up a bit more of that attacking role there. And I think he offers a nice little downgrade option for people sort of trying to free up funds. I've actually got Rasmus Højlund this week against Newcastle United. I actually think that people that still have him on your bench,
or baby Haaland, did nothing for my team.
But he played during the week in the Champions League, which means he'll be fit for this weekend, and I think he's first choice over Martial. So I think he's a nice little differential option if you still got him on the bench. And one other player, I'm just trying to see if he's going to be a differential. I'm going to say Gabriel Jesus.
I've seen a few people talk about Jesus this week.
Yeah, so he's only 3% owned. I actually think that if you wanted to double up in that Arsenal attack, I'd go him as a downgrade option from Watkins. Or it's not really a downgrade, it's more just a sideways option. I was 7.8, so you're going to put bank 0.2 with the downgrade there. And I think he's a great option. I actually really like him. I was tempted to do it this week, but I've already taken a -4 this week, so I'm not tempted at a -8 to bring him in, because I'd play him over Højlund this week if I did have him, but I just don't think the -8 is worth it. But yeah, I think people are looking at downgrade options. I like Jesus.
No, I'd love it, mate. And we'll go through our transfers in a second. I'm just going to quickly pull up my differentials now. So I've just got them here. So let me bring up my differentials. Okay, so, and then we've got a question that come in from Karim. So we will answer your question. So Kelleher from Liverpool. I know a lot of people are saying, you use your third Liverpool spot, but if you've got Salah and Nunez, or you've got Salah and Tsimikas, and you want a third Liverpool player, you can bring Kelleher in now. He's going to start for Liverpool over the next 3 or 4 games, potentially, and then you can always just wildcard him out if you've still got a wildcard. So I actually don't mind him. Gibbs White, 1.7% owned, home to Everton from Forest. I spoke about him on this podcast for most of it tonight. Then I put Doku against Spurs. He's just an absolute menace. Difficult player to mark. Always looks like he's going to haul. And I think it's a good opportunity against this Spurs side for him tonight. But yeah, let's bring up this question from Karim. If anyone else has any questions, please get them in the comments now. Subscribe if you're new here. Give the video a like. But we will look to wrap up the stream shortly. It's been a good deadline stream so far tonight. So should I bench Palmer instead? God, he's got some options. I'd play Bruno, then Watkins, and then I'd probably put Palmer first sub, and then Rodriguez as the next sub. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
From those options he's given us.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I'm agreeing with you on that one. I think, like you said, play Watkins, and if he doesn't start, I don't think he plays. And then obviously you get your first bench option would probably be Rodriguez.
Oh, awesome. All right, let's quickly do our transfers queue, and then we'll wrap up the stream. So I've gone. Funnily enough, I'm always a big advocate for press conferences. But I made my transfer on Monday before the game week had even finished, because there was a game on Monday night overseas. So I did my transfer there and then because I had 0.1 in the bank, and I had to make a move to Buemo from Brentford, Q's favourite player. And I bring in, Buemo for Mitoma, who I did want to keep, Mitoma, but because it had this injury cloud over him, I thought I'll get Buemo in. And it was lucky I did it early because he's since price rise twice, and I would have been, I wouldn't have been able to get him. So he come in, no other transfers yet. Once I get the any Watkins news, which I think we're potentially going to get shortly, then I'll decide if I need to do a -4, or if I just play Pedro Porro or Archer or whoever I've got. So they're my moves. And then midweek, hopefully me and Q can get some sort of stream before the deadline in midweek, and we'll go through our transfers then. Right now, I'd probably say I'd potentially be looking to roll in midweek if possible. But Q, what are you thinking for your transfers this week? If you've done them, you mentioned potentially a -4.
Yeah, I've taken a -4. So, like you, on the Monday before the game week finished, I got out Bowen for Kudus. I wanted to go Kudus last week and do the double up with Bowen, but I already have 3 West Ham assets, so it blocked me from that move. So I thought I'll move on from Bowen. And then this morning, I was laying there in the lounge and decided to do Eze to Palmer.
Yeah, so he's got Cole Palmer. He's on the Palmer train.
Yeah, so I was tossing up going Eze to Mbeumo or Eze to Palmer, and I sort of thought I'm going to have to free up funds over the next couple of weeks to get back to Haaland. So I sort of thought I might just bank a bit more cash from the downgrade, because I think that saved me like 0.6, I think.
You got unlucky with Eze.
0.7.
You got really unlucky that he come back and got an injury.
So I decided I'll just bite the bullet. I'll get Palmer in early, and then obviously bank those next few games after this week. So that's my moves, and I've obviously got that armband on Salah, and the vice captaincy I've got that on Saka, and then I've listened to my own advice. I've started Watkins and put Højlund first bench. So good if I get any solid news. So that's me -4 this week. And then obviously next week, I'm probably going to make another transfer because I have to keep freeing up funds if I want to sort of have Haaland in week 16.
I love it. We'll answer this last question. No others have come in. So FRK, when Buemo captain, I just think if you've got Salah or Haaland, they're just better options.
Yeah,
what do you reckon?
I agree. But also, if you're like me and languishing in the depths of, 900,000 to 1.2 million in rank, and then Mbeumo captain could be massive this week. So
true. It's always good. There's always upside to curveball captains. But look, we'll leave it there. Been a good pod. Great to have you on again, Q. As always, go and give Quinton a follow at FPL Amateurs Oz. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube as well. And he's obviously got the website up and running. Really good podcast he runs. Always has good guests every week. So go and check it out. Any final thoughts, Q, before we wrap up?
Lower your expectations this week so you're not too disappointed.
Yeah,
that's what I can say, because last week just seemed really great before deadline, and then just hasn't been great. So I think set the bar low, and you can never be disappointed. You can use that in life and use it in FPL. So
and just enjoy it where you can. But thanks for coming on, Q. Well, thanks to everyone that's tuned in. Thanks for all the lovely comments, the questions, and everything that's come in. We'll be back with more content before the midweek. So don't forget there's a midweek deadline, game week 15. So we'll try and bring some content on my channel, on Q's pod, and on his Twitter as well. We're going to try and see what we can get done up until that deadline. Our deadline now is it's an hour and 10 minutes. So make sure you get your teams locked in, your transfers and your captains. But look, let's leave it there. Thanks, Q. Good luck, everyone, for the game week. I'm FPLMattDay, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.